Alright, welcome to a video on theoretical versus experimental probability. So, you're probably going to enjoy this. Funny. So, theoretical probability is, our definition for this video is going to be the number of possible ways it happened out of the number of possible outcomes. So it's possible ways it could happen over the possible outcomes. The experimental is the number of ways it did happen. So we did the experiment, it happened this many times, and that's out of how many times we attempted it. So if we got a result 3 times and we attempted it 10 times, it'd be 3 out of 10. So let's go ahead and look at a couple of examples. So theoretical, let's work with a die. So we're going to work with a fair 6-sided die. So it's got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 on it. So when you roll it, you have the possibility of getting a 1, a 2, a 3, a 4, a 5, and a 6. Now, theoretically, when you roll the die, the possibility of you rolling a 1 is 1 out of 6. The theoretical of rolling a 2 is also 1 out of 6. 3, 1 out of 6. 4, 1 out of 6. 5, 1 out of 6. 6, you guessed it, 1 out of 6. So, theoretically, we have a chance of getting any of those numbers 1 out of 6 times, theoretically. If we were to roll the die 6 times, this is what should happen. But that's not what actually happens in real life, as we know. So, we have a fair 6-sided die. Now, I want you to ignore these numbers up here, and I want you to get a die, and I want you to roll it 6 times and record the numbers. This is what I did here. I rolled the die and recorded it 6 times. So go ahead, pause the video, do that now. Okay, now that you have your 6 numbers, let's look at your 6 numbers and my 6 numbers. So, let's look at the experimental probability of getting a 1. So, with my results, the experimental probability of getting a 1 is 1 out of 6. Because I rolled it 1 out of the 6 times. My probability of getting a 2 for my experiment was 3 out of 6, or 1/2, because I had 3 2s. My experimental probability of rolling a 3 was 1 out of 6, because I only rolled a 3 once. My experimental probability of rolling a 4 was 0 out of 6 times. 5 was 1 out of 6, and then 6 was 0 out of 6. So what I want you to do now is I want you to go ahead and record your numbers like I recorded mine here, and make sure you do simplify fractions. Now, if we look at our theoretical probability and compare it to our experimental, it doesn't really match up too well. Our 1, our 3, and our 5 do, but that 2, 4, and 6 are all over. But they're actually pretty close. 1 and 0 are pretty close. It's not like we were expecting to get 4 4s here with the theoretical. We're expecting to get 1, and we got 0, so that's not too far off. Same thing with the 6 and 2. It's not very far off from 1, but it is half of the time, so that is a little bit wonky. So I would say that we are pretty close with our experimental and our theoretical probability here. If we'd gotten like 2 5 times, that would have been way off. But this is actually pretty close. So let's talk about marbles. What I want you to do is I want you to now record the theoretical probability of drawing a red marble, blue marble, yellow marble, and green marble. And in this bag of marbles, whenever we pull one out, we put it back in. So every time we're pulling out a marble, there's 10 marbles in the bag. Make sure you reduce fractions as well. So go ahead, pause the video, and do that now. Okay, so theoretically, when we're drawing these marbles out, we should get red 4 out of 10 times, or 2 out of 5. Blue 2 out of the 10 times, or 1/5 of the time. Yellow 1 out of 10, and green 3 out of 10. Now we know that's not actually going to happen. Now, unfortunately, I don't have a bag of marbles for you to do this with, so I just made this up for you. So this is an experiment. Let's experiment on probability here. We ran the experiment, we drew out marbles 10 times, put them back each time, and this is the results we got. So go ahead, pause the video, and figure out the experimental probability of our drawing the marbles. Alright, so here is the experimental probability for that. Now what I want you to do is come up with your conclusions of the theoretical match or experimental, yes or no. After you do that, talk with me about it, or talk with someone else that's close to where you are about this. See if they agree, disagree, things like that. After you do that, you are done with the video.